Hi everyone and welcome back to Chess for Charity. In this video, I'm going to show you a really cool mate in 2. So look at the position here. It's kind of a funny one. I think I just want to show this because it's such a cool mate in 2. And maybe it's just kind of paradoxical if you want to call it that. So it's white to move, mate in 2. I'll give you a second to think about that. While you're considering the answer, let me ask you to subscribe if you have not done so already. Half of the income I earn in this channel goes directly to charity. So every like, every subscriber, every member, half of everything goes to charity. Okay. So when I was looking at this, I'm like, all right, we got a lot of stuff on the board here. Clearly white wins, but it's like, how? So first thing I thought was bring the knight in. And then I was like, well, that's not going to be mate in a 2 because the king can run to the corner. How am I going to, get something to check in one move? I'm not. So I threw that out real quick. And I was like, okay, what if I bring the knight here instead? Maybe that's a difference. And it's not. You kind of have to ask yourself when you're looking for a mate in 2, like what's the critical issue? Like, well, this one, the king can go here and it can go here. So then I thought, maybe I can bring the king in. Some of these puzzles, it's like a slow move to start. And then like the actual killer move is the second move. But again, it doesn't really work because, like, sure, if the king went somewhere that, actually, I guess not actually. If the king goes to this or this, it's the same problem, right? This isn't mate in 1 either. So you're like, okay, how do I cover this square after my second move? And I'm like, I'm not so sure I get how I can cover this square in 2 moves. So then I got thinking, okay, what if I played bishop here? Now if the king goes here, I could at least cover the square. It's not mate, by the way. The king can just go here. But at least I'm covering the square. And of course, you notice this pattern here with the bishop. And you're like, okay, there's something kind of brewing here. And then I think I'll just kind of start sharing the answer here. So this is your last chance to try it. Then you realize that I'm very fixated on the pieces. Right? I'm very fixated on how do I move the pieces. Maybe this move comes to mind, right? Try to sneak in here. But it doesn't really work, right? I can do this. How am I defending this pawn, right? I can't mate you and defend this pawn at one time. So it's like, all right, we're kind of getting somewhere. Like it feels kind of like the answer is close. And then you realize instead of fixating on the pieces, what about the pawn? And this is the critical answer. You can play b6. This is the move. And what's so cool about this, and what I said earlier about how it's like kind of paradoxical, you just gave the king so many opportunities to move. And there's a name for this pattern where the king has like a star-shaped movements. So let's look at all the variations. If the king goes here, you have a pretty simple mate. I love the pattern of this. Look at the way the knights are just and the pawn dominate these squares. The king has no neighbors, yet is still checkmated. I think that's cool. And then you say, okay, instead of the king going this way, right, this is what we just looked at, what if it goes to the corner? Well, this is my favorite one. Actually, I think the other one's my favorite. I have a lot of favorite ones, baby. I think they're all cool. That's my issue. The rook is supporting this pawn, and this knight is covering the squares. That's mate. So these going backwards lead to mate. If you go to the side of the board, these squares are already covered. This square needs to be covered. Well, luckily there's a piece that covers these exact squares. That would be the knight. And that's mate. And remember earlier when I was saying the bishop could go here and it kind of covers this diagonal? That is the idea if the king takes the knight. You have mate in 1 this way. Slicing through, this pawn is doing a nice job covering c7. Everything else is covered. This is mate. So even though you have all these pieces on the board, the mate is actually the most efficient mate, mate in 2, starts with b6. I love this. It's so cool. I don't know what is so cool about it other than just I think we all look for piece movements. I particularly was like maybe king moves. And then I couldn't get over how am I stopping this? Well, that answers all of it, right? Because if I play this move, I can cover this square on my second move, because if they go back, I can hit again, and that's how I cover everything. So, I don't know, I think it's kind of a short puzzle. I enjoyed it, and I thought if I think it's cool, maybe somebody else out there will think it's really cool. So, if you enjoyed it, let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.